as I was saying about the artwork, so that's one painting that I have done. Another one, I also do a lot of portraiture work. This is a pastel drawing that I did of a man that sat for me. And if you look down on the lower portion of it, you can see my cat's footprints when I took it home to spray it, to seal it. My cat walked across it, so he has a voice in the artwork too, which I love. So here's a painting that you can actually see behind me right here. Once again, I love to just put stuff in front of me and paint it. So flowers are such a great example of that. And let's see. But then also I do a lot of work where there isn't anything in front of me. And so this is a painting that I made about my mother and sort of her walking over this bridge, this tumultuous water. So this is just something that I've painted from my imagination. But here's another example of a portrait. This is watercolor, so this is a painted portrait. And I'm also a sculptor. So the Mr. Peanut sculpture there that you can see in the picture, he's the one in the middle. The other two on the sides are actually people inside costumes. That was the unveiling of the Mr. Peanut statue that we unveiled on the Atlantic City Boardwalk, which you can go and sit with and take pictures of. So thanks, Wendy. Let's see what else we have here. And scrolling through here, pardon me, everybody. So here's another one that I just sort of painted from my imagination of an ocean. I just wanted this big, deep picture. And then sometimes, like I said, I put things in front of me. I love toast with jelly or jam, whatever you want to call it. So that's a watercolor that I made just one morning, much like the book and hammer. So one of the things I'm going to talk about here is how when you make artwork, it's so great to have an example of something in front of you. I know a lot of kids use their imagination and draw, and that's such a wonderful thing. And I definitely would, say that should be harnessed, and that's a wonderful thing. But the way you learn to become an artist is by drawing things you see. And so I'll be doing that pretty soon with this hot air balloon. Here's another portrait. So I love to do portraiture work. I'm very excited about that. And then other times I do work from photographs. So this is a photograph that I took when I was visiting Europe. We were in the Czech Republic in Prague. And so I took a picture of it, and then I painted it when I got home because it was just so gorgeous. So let's see. Here's another one that I did from photographs. Thanks, Amy. This was a commission for some people who wanted me to paint their horses. And so they sent me pictures of their horses. I couldn't visit their horses because they were in Wisconsin and I'm here in Philadelphia. But I sort of did a composite and painted their horses for them, and now they have that. So, the reason I'm here, one is because this is a new thing I want to try where what's this? I'm a limited stick figure girl, so this blows me away. Thank you. So one of the things that I want to share is this app that I have coming out, which is Sean Draws Things That Fly. And it's with Run Wild Studios, and Run Wild sort of, that's all about letting children's imaginations run wild. But one of the things I really wanted to do was show how artists create things. And so in this app, what you're going to see, let me open this up for you guys. What you're going to see is some options here. Let me pull out of that picture, thank you. And so, when you click on one of these things, what you're going to see is me draw it and paint it for you. In high speed, obviously. So, and then, the kids can interact with it by adding stickers, which they can blow up. There's a pelican to fly along with the hawk. Look out, pelican. And then also the kids, besides adding stickers, a flying sneaker, they can also then paint it themselves by adding color of their own, or if they click on this button, it adds what I painted. And there's lots of fun options, and I love the way the colors actually overlap, and sort of go together. You can still see the painting of the hawk underneath. Well, so this app to me was all about, teaching kids, or really showing kids how I do it, so they can see step by step how to make the artwork themselves. And so that's what I'm about to do here. And as I said, a lot of artists, when they get started, they work from photographs, work from an object right in front of them. Like, you can paint a coffee cup. I've got quite a few coffee cup paintings because coffee cups can be beautiful. But the internet is a great resource for grabbing pictures. There's a lot of great photographers out there that you can grab their image and then you can draw from it. So I'm going to do a little bit of that now, and then we'll come back to the app some more. But I'm going to show you how I do it. So let me start. I've got this. This is just a black pencil. I really like to start with pencil. You can start with marker, but pencil's great because you can erase it. Because artists are always making mistakes, happy mistakes as you go. So, like I said, I printed out this picture from the internet of a hot air balloon that I thought was really pretty. Has some great colors to it, and so I'm going to see if I can draw it here for you. So the way I would start, is I look at the big basic shapes that I see in front of me. So, it looks like a teardrop. And you see the teardrop shape. So you can start with just that rough sort of outline of a teardrop, so an upside down teardrop. So I might just draw something like that. And I don't mind that, I made some rough lines here that don't line up because I can always just erase them. So I make sort of this rough teardrop shape, and then, I start to look at what I see here, and I see, there's these sort of bumps all along the top here. And so, what I want to do is, hi, Paul, Melissa's cousin. Thanks for dropping by. So what I want to do is see if I can make these bumps up here on the top of this hot air balloon right here. So I'll just sort of draw one there, one there, and I'm drawing over top of the teardrop shape that I made earlier. Maybe another one here, bring it all the way down. And so that's what I'm seeing in front of me in the image. So that's what I'm going to draw. But I always make sure I'm looking back at the picture. You always want to check in, because it's easy to start just drawing a hot air balloon from how you imagine it looks. So it really helps to hone your skills as an artist to really look for the lines and see if you can copy them. So I just draw the lines like I think I see them. I'm making my hot air balloon. You see how the lines come all the way down? Well, those are sort of the ribs of the hot air balloon. And then you want to figure out, well, what do they do at the bottom? They sort of, looks like they sort of end in an ellipse shape, so like a circle, kind of, an oval, if you will. So I'll draw a little oval there, and then I'll finish drawing all my lines down just like that. So I sort of have my hot air balloon there. But something that I also noticed about it, and you probably see it too, is right, it has all these sort of bands of color. So a great way to sort of lock that in where you'll want to put those colors is to draw the outlines in. So I can start, say, down here, I see there's this red shape. So what I want to do is see if I can draw this line all along here. And I make sure that they sort of bubble out so that they sort of follow the shape of the ribs of the hot air balloon. So I'll draw the orange outline. And now I'll draw the yellow outline. And if anybody has any questions as I go along, I really encourage you to ask them. I'm happy to answer any questions about what I do or why I do it. Because that's the best part about this, is it's interactive. So let me see. I think I've got one more set up here. There we go. Good. Okay. So now I just need my basket on the bottom. So what I can do is I can see here the basket has all these little strings that come down from the balloon, so I can draw those strings in just like this. Just draw those in. And then the basket is sort of like a little box. So I'll just draw a little box on there. And it's got a bottom to it. The balloon's so high, I can see underneath it. It's got all these little mechanics in there, and I even see some people in the picture too. So why not draw some little heads, little people in there? Good. So that's my hot air balloon, and it's not perfect. In fact, this line could be moved or that line could be moved, but I sort of like the way it looks. So now I can probably start to paint it. So I've got some paints here that I want to share with you guys. So I like to use watercolor. It's like tempera paint, kind of, but it comes in these handy-dandy little trays sometimes with all the colors there, and there's this handy-dandy little place that I can mix the colors and stuff like that. So I use one of these, but you can use tempera, you can use acrylic, or you can even just use markers too. Thanks, Wendy. Well, so let me see. Let me get the paper towel here too, because as I'm painting, sometimes I'm going to need to wipe off some of that. So let's see. I'll start with my brush here. And I like to use these really long brushes. That way I can stand back and really eye up my artwork. I've got my paints here. So I just dip it in some water. I have a little cup of water. And what I'm going to start to do is just paint in some of the colors of my hot air balloon. So I'll start with some yellow. So I can use a little yellow here. And I'll just paint the yellow there. And the reason I'm starting with the yellow is because I like to start with the lightest colors first. That way I don't make any dark, bold colors that I can't paint over right away if I want to change my mind. So I'll just paint this in just like so. I keep checking in with my picture, make sure I feel like it looks like I want it to, and it looks like the picture that I'm copying. Just paint all that yellow in there. Nice. And there we go. But after I paint this one too, I was going to take some requests. So if anybody has any idea of something else they want me to paint, I'd be thinking about that. Okay. So now I'm going to paint the next layer down, which is orange. So I just add a little bit of red to my yellow paint. Now I can do the orange layer. So I see someone commenting about the vibrant yellow. So it helps that I'm using artist grade paints. These are good high quality paints. That makes it a lot more fun to use. Yeah, kids, if you're really into art, ask your parents to go buy the nice expensive stuff. It's worth it. The colors are brighter. The colors mix together in a nicer way. Okay, so now I'll do another layer of red. And I can already see that my artwork's just artwork's a little different than the picture, but it's okay. You do want to check in with it so that you don't just start making too much stuff up. But if it does go in a different direction, that's okay. So in the app that I created, this is pretty much how I did it. Except I set up a camera so you couldn't see me, you just saw my hand. And I made pictures just like this. And I'll be sharing some of those videos in just a moment. Okay, so I think we need like a really bright red down there. So let's see. Add a little more red down here. Oops. Okay. Great. And I see I've got sort of a spot here in the middle that I want to even out just a little bit. There we go. Good. Now let's finish the top of it. So I'm going to add some green paint here. I could have painted this any way I wanted to, but like I said, I'm trying to see if I can copy the picture. And you know, for any of you parents out there who used to watch Bob Ross, who was a hero of mine as a kid, he actually was painting from a picture too. you know what he was painting from? He was painting from a painting he already made. So I read that once, that he would sort of reference the painting that he had already made. That way he felt really comfortable and knew exactly what he was going to paint and could talk about friendly little trees and clouds all day long. Okay. And then on the top there, let's do an even darker green. Bob Ross was the man. Yes, Bob Ross was the man. Well, thank you. And you know, you can see some of my colors are dripping down. I don't mind. I'm gonna add some texture to my picture. That's one thing about art and when I make pictures is never to try and get it perfect. Just add some fun to it. So now, you know, you can see that in the picture there's all these shadows here, right, where the ribs are. They're less so on this side, but there's a lot here, and that's the shadow cast by the sun. So I'm going to see if I can add that by using just a little bit of darker color like black, adding it to my colors, and then painting lines in right in here. Does that show up? Do you see that? Here I'm just using red to darken that up. Then I can add a little water to blend it all together. Nice. Okay. Add some more dark green here. Now for the yellow. That's going to add some dimension to our picture. Good. Cool. Now just drag some of the green down this whole side, just to make it a little darker. Like I said, adding dimension to what I see. A little paint in each corner. Nice. This is when the paper towel really comes in hand. I just sort of do a little dabbing here and there just to get some of the drips before they get out of hand. Okay. Our hot air balloon is coming along. So I see Michelle ask a question earlier. Sorry, I did not hear how long I've been painting. I've been painting since I was little. I guess my first oil painting, I think I was around 14. But before that, I was painting just like a kid would at home with, you know, any kind of materials that, you know, a kid might have, tempera or crayon or stuff like that. And then in high school, I started to study it more seriously and started taking art classes where I could, you know, specifically request a class. And then I went to college for it, and that's what I studied. I actually studied fine art, not performance. Performance came later as sort of as an accident, really. So what I'm doing now is still adding a little more dark down here. I know that this red down here, I want to shadow it a little bit more. So I'm just adding some dark pigment, a little bit of black here and there, just to give it some body. And then, of course, inside, you can see inside the balloon, it's real dark in there. So I'm just going to use some black and red for that. I just keep checking in with my picture just to see what kind of details I see that I can steal or copy. Good. And it's sort of got a splotchy feel to it, which I like. Give it a little more texture. And then I'm going to paint the basket, which I can see is orange. Okay. A little black on the bottom for sure. But we want to put shadows in if you're trying to make something look lifelike, because shadows are cast when there's light around. Okay. Now that I've finished sort of making my hot air balloon, I can do the sky, which is My son's trying to draw. It's not so bad. Well, I would tell your son to keep drawing. It's a wonderful thing if he enjoys it. That's the thing with me is, I love making art. I love sitting down and drawing. And one of the best things to do is to draw things you see. My niece, she wanted to start learning how to draw some more. So I said, start drawing the guitar or coffee cups or whatever. And she started drawing, and now every card I receive from her has a picture of a guitar in it, which is awesome. And she's a fantastic artist. The real key is to just draw everything you see. You can use your imagination too and just draw things you don't see, the things you think about. But a great start is to draw the things you see. And if that means copying a picture, so be it. So in this picture, though, there's a blue sky here, but it's a little darker on top and a little lighter on the bottom. So I think I'm going to kind of mimic that. The way I can do that is simply by just doing a lighter colored paint down below. And now I'm using a wider brush since I'm not doing tiny little details. It's amazing how once you put in a little background like this, how the whole thing just takes on a life. And so the way I'm going to make it look darker up above, like in the picture, is add a little blue, a little more blue. And I have a couple different types of blue. So I'm going to mix in another type of blue. Just like that. And I don't worry about having nice clean edges or things like that, because as you sort of just come back and brush things together, it looks soft and nice and blended, so it doesn't need to have a perfect edge. A little piece of lint there. Okay, and then I can take a paper towel, do a little dabbing here, maybe a little smearing too, whatever suits my fancy. And I could even use this to sort of brush in a cloud if I wanted to. Okay, so it's a little darker on top. You could probably afford to be a little more pigment up here. And that's my hot air balloon, much like the picture there. And sometimes when I'm looking at a picture or I'm putting a painting together, I will spend days just getting every little detail perfectly. And you can do that if you want to make a finished piece, but sometimes it's just about practicing and just drawing something you can see. So there's only one thing left to do, and that's sign it, which every artist should sign their work. Nice. So that's my my hot air balloon. So does anybody have any questions? Can I send you some of my son's work? I'd love to see it. Yeah, we have, you can see right there on the screen, you can reach us at runwildstudios.com and email us at info@runwildstudios.com. You can share artwork. I'd love to see it because I'll be seeing anything that gets sent there. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to see your kids' artwork, and I'd be happy to respond with some comments and what I think. I'll judge it. I'll critique it. Don't worry, I'll be friendly. So that's my hot air balloon. I wanted to share. Is there anybody here who hasn't seen the app or is unfamiliar with it? Anybody? Well, if you haven't seen it, let me share some videos. So here's some samples of what I do. You can see in high speed. And so that that video that you just saw, there's the original that I painted many months ago in a similar notepad, just like this one. And the same thing. I printed out a picture of a goose that I found online, and then I just sort of drew it the way I wanted it to, and then painted it in. And, you know, sometimes the hardest part I know is what you see on the photo or what the object looks like, and then translating that to the paper. But a great way to get started with that is one, just doing it over and over. But two, sometimes it's just to trace it, and then you can sort of make your own coloring page. Because as you can see, that's sort of what I did here. I made my own coloring page. I drew an outline, and then I colored it in. And so that's another thing that you're going to find in the app. What you're going to see is once you pull it up, is in the coloring pages. That's essentially what we provided for you as a coloring page. But at least now, you know, people can know, you know, sort of how the drawing is created, because I think a lot of children just see coloring books and media and cartoons, and they have no idea really how it was created, how it was drawn, and so it can be intimidating to want to get started. So that was the hope, was that kids at home would get to essentially see how it's made. So as you can see here in this, once you've seen how it's made, then you can color it in, like I said before. So I think I shared enough of that. We want to invite you guys to go to runwildstudios.com to learn more about the app or anything like that. And if you want to learn more about me, you can go to my website, Sean Roach Arts, SeanRoachArts.com. You can see all my artwork and more. Well, thank you. So I did this one here, and I thought I would do another one. And let me see. I take requests. If somebody wants to have me draw something, if there's a kid at home that wants me to draw something specific, just let me know. I can do it. Okay. So he wants to see me draw a dinosaur. So I don't need this picture anymore. So a dinosaur. Let's see. Okay. I think I can do it. So if I were going to do that, and I'm not going to do it from a picture. This time I'm just going to, I see there's a rose too that somebody would love. We have one back here. I'm going to start with the dinosaur just because that definitely seems very complicated to do. So, so I know that dinosaurs a lot of times stood upright with two legs on the ground and two arms up here. So maybe I'll sort of draw that. Like, let's see. So I'm drawing the body and the tail. And so I know they sort of have these big sweeping tails, a lot of them. And then they have big, powerful legs. So I'll draw the legs like that, maybe. Let's see. They have powerful feet. Yeah. I don't draw dinosaurs very often. Actually, maybe ever, since I was a kid. So this is definitely going to be faking it for me. So you maybe see the legs there. Let's see. Maybe some sort of head. They have big boxy heads, don't they? Sometimes. Okay. And a T-Rex had little arms. I see Chica too. Someone's requesting Chica. Chica I have drawn plenty of times. So I think T-Rex had tiny little hands. I don't know what he did with them. Didn't seem useful at all. Okay, so we're getting a body together. Draw the powerful jaws. And you know, as I'm doing this, I sort of draw these rough kind of just wispy lines that I use to sort of just guide me, and I don't try and get it right on the first line. I just sort of make these wispy lines in hopes that, you know, eventually one of the lines will look right to me. Okay, so sort of got my dinosaur going here. I'm going to clean up some of these lines. Let's see. Let's put an eye in here. It's got a nose, right? Big T. Okay. So what do you guys think? How's it looking? Good. I'm glad it's their favorite. So, in fact, that's a really good comment. Perhaps for the next app, we will do dinosaurs. That would be something fun for me to draw, and I definitely need some practice at it. So this is not a friend. This is no Barney, that's for sure. This is not a friendly dinosaur. It looks scary to me. And so a lot of times after I've sort of done the wispy lines, I'll come back and maybe add some more details. But now I'll do it darker. These are my bold lines. Okay. There's my dinosaur. So nice. Any other requests? We had a request for a rose or for a chica. Don't think I'm going to draw Chica. I'm a little burned out on drawing Chica. But let's see, maybe a rose. Oh, you're welcome, Wendy. You know, it's a lot of fun for me to do this kind of stuff, especially on requests like this. You know, I'd like to do more of these shows, so hopefully you guys can tune in, give me more suggestions. So a rose. Right, a rose. Okay, so let's see if I can do that. Roses are red. So roses are sort of round and on top, and they have all these kind of layers, don't they? So based on my knowledge of roses, maybe that's sort of the top of a rose, a bloom, a leaf. The stem comes right out of the bottom. Maybe another petal here. Not a petal, a leaf. Excuse me. And then I need to figure this out, but there's sort of these overlapping layers of petals sort of tuck inside each other, aren't they? So, you know, drawing is just part of it. What really adds something is when you start to add color to it. You can tell so much more about what it is that you're trying to draw when you add color to it. You can add dimension and lots of different shades of reds. Let's see. So in a situation like this where I don't have a reference, I sort of have to just fake it. So perhaps, perhaps in a situation like this, I might not make it too detailed, but that would give away that I don't know exactly what all the details are. But if I make it bold enough, it'll look good. Any other questions somebody might have for me? Could be about anything, really. Could be about the app. It could be about my work at Sprout as a performer and a child educator and a host, or as an artist. Okay. So I'm just trying to sort of paint in these crispy rose layers. It's coming along nicely, I think. No, I don't believe I've actually ever done art by request on such a tight time schedule. Oh, okay. So watercolor. Why is that my favorite medium? That's a great question. It wasn't actually. For many years, I focused exclusively on doing oil painting, just because it was it lasts the longest. It's very strong, and so it's what a lot of artists have used to make their artwork, because it holds up. So this oil painting right here of the hydrangeas. Oh, you know what? I think I have it right here. I'll come back to watercolor in a moment. So this painting, let me show you close. This painting is really strong. It's it's not going to scratch off. You can build texture with it. You feel this is really bumpy and rough and stuff like that. And you can build all these smooth textures. So oil painting is just such a wonderful medium. It's why it's lasted for so long and stood the test of time. It's a powerful, and all these colors are actually made up of exotic materials from all over the world, metals and all kinds of things. So these pigments come from sometimes from plants and sometimes from ground down bones. And so oil painting was my first medium. That being my first medium, I just put my head into that and just tried to make every single thing I could in that way. But then I realized after many years how watercolor has its own sort of special thing. It's that the color of the white paper is always showing through. So watercolors are typically brighter. So, look at this and look at this. Obviously, this is a very dark black painting, but you can see watercolor lets the white of the paper really shine through. It makes for such a bright painting. And it's unforgiving. When you make a painting like this, I can't paint over this red now. With oil paint, I could paint right over it because they're opaque mediums. So I could paint right over the red with yellow, and the red would be gone. You wouldn't see it anymore. But with watercolor, it's there. So it's almost a challenge to do a good watercolor is a challenge, which is why I'm so proud of, say, a portrait like this, because every single little brushstroke had to be perfect as I painted this guy's portrait. Yeah, so of the mediums that I love, watercolor I love because it's an amazing challenge and it's so bright. And you know what? Another reason I totally got into was my son was born. and oil painting, yeah, is sort of toxic. It's not very healthy. If my son were to knock something over, it could be very dangerous. So I thought I'd go to watercolor, and that totally made it nice and easy and non-toxic, and so I enjoyed that. So and then another medium that I love is pastels, which I don't have any. Well, I'll show you these examples that I have here. These are, let's see, this is a pastel. So that's chalk. Pastels are chalk. They're like a very dry little colored stick that you can use to draw pretty much anything with. So pastels I love, but once again, they're also toxic because as you draw, little shavings of dust are constantly falling off and then building up here and then getting your lungs and stuff. And it was the kind of thing that, like I said before, the pigments are made from exotic materials, and some of them aren't so healthy. Now that's why there's kids paints. That's why you can find materials that are made for kids, because they specifically make the pigments out of things that are safe for children, that are not going to hurt them. But once you get into the adult world where you can start buying more expensive materials and stuff that you have to be careful around, you get brighter colors and things like that. So when I paint watercolor, do I usually lean the paper flat? Thanks, Jean. Oh, hi, Jean. So I don't actually. I have, but no, I like to paint watercolor this way. I don't know why. I like the drips. And if you use water economically, it doesn't really become a big mess. So you can definitely do it upright, like I was just doing. And the big reason I like to work like this is because I can step back from it, and it keeps me really engaged and moving. And if I sit down and draw, I lose a lot of steam. So it's good for me to be standing when I make artwork. As I've said in classes that I've taught before, it's like a little bit of a dance. How you're eyeing up what you're seeing and squinting and stepping back from the picture and getting in close and all that stuff. So it looks great. Any way to get unwanted water paint off the paper? What do you do when you make a mistake with color? Well, with watercolor, there's a couple tricks. Let me see. Let's see if I can do a little demo of that. So if I wanted to pull out some of this red, if I keep applying water, just water, straight water there, and then I dab, I can pull out some, but the pigments are in the paper. You'll never get back to the white. The only way to really, truly get back to the white would be to use watercolor paint called Chinese white, which is an actually white pigment. But it's always a little gray, doesn't look as nice as the white paper really just shining through. Do you use a hairdryer for watercolors? No, I don't use a hairdryer. Now, that's not true. I have used a hairdryer when I did the drawings for the app, just because for time's sake. But no, I let the drips come through. In fact, let me show you an example of something in the app that I really liked when I did the hot air balloon. So check this out. You would watch for the drips when I start painting. So you saw them in high speed, probably hard to catch, but yeah, I don't mind when the colors sort of wash together and stuff like that. I think it's nice. So any other questions that I missed? No. So yeah, and making mistakes in watercolor is definitely a much bigger deal. Like for example, if that has happened and I'm unhappy about it, I don't have a whole lot of options. well, it's still really wet, so I can pull it up a little bit. But what you probably can't see now is that there's this sort of grayish pink there. So there aren't a whole lot of options. But that's the thing about watercolors. You really got to work hard to get it right. You can't be slapdash and expect that things are going to look really tight and perfect. Oh, thanks, Thomas. It's been a real pleasure. So, well, everybody, it's been a really great time talking to all of you and sharing. I really want to do this again sometime, so I'd love to see all of you again. I'll let you all know when I can do it. But thanks for coming out. And if you're loving the app, please tell others. If you're not loving the app, keep that to yourself. And yeah, it's been really great. So I'm going to sign off unless there's any other questions anybody has. All right, everybody. Well, my pleasure to do this. I'll see you guys next time, okay? Thanks. Signing off. Now I just have to figure out how to sign off, everybody. I just got to figure that out.